night was silent. The moonlight touched the palace courtyard. Oba's son, now a young man of 20, stood with a gun in his shaking hands. In front of him, his mother, Amina, her eyes wide with pain and disbelief. "My son, you point a weapon at your own mother." Tears rolled down his face, but his voice was hard. "You betrayed me. You betrayed my father. You betrayed everything." Bang! The gun fired. Amina fell to the ground, her white wrapper stained red. Her lips trembled with final words. "I never betrayed you. I only loved you." The boy dropped the gun, screaming, his voice breaking the night. "No, mother, what have I done?" Years before this night, after the fall of Belogan, peace seemed to return to Oba's household. The golden mansion had burned, but Oba rebuilt his home, not with riches, but with love. He swore his son would never grow in fear, never grow in hatred. For a while, it worked. The boy was strong. He trained with his father, learning honor, respect, and wisdom. He played in the courtyard, laughing in the sunshine, and his mother's voice was always near, singing soft lullabies, telling stories of courage and loyalty. But enemies never truly die. From the ashes of Belogan's greed, new shadows rose. They did not come with guns or knives. They came with whispers. Whispers that slid into the boy's ears like snakes in the grass. "Your mother kept you away from Oba. She never wanted you to have your father's love. She hides secrets from you." At first, the boy shook his head, refusing to believe. But poison works slowly. Each word was a drop of venom. Each whisper another crack in his heart. The boy began to wonder. Why had he not always been close to his father? Why were there times his mother's eyes looked full of hidden sorrow? Doubt grew into fire, fire into anger, and anger into hate. The boy grew taller, stronger and sharper with every passing year. At 18, he had the strength of a warrior, but his heart was restless. His eyes were often troubled, searching for something unseen. That was when she appeared. Her name was Zahara. She was a vision of beauty, the kind of woman that made heads turn in the marketplace. Her skin glowed like polished bronze under the sun. Her braids fell long over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with secrets she never spoke aloud. She smiled with warmth, but hidden inside that smile was a shadow, a quiet mystery. The first time Oba's son saw her, it was during a village festival. The drums beat, the dancers moved like fire, and the air was filled with the scent of roasted meat and palm wine. Zahara danced among the crowd with effortless grace, her wrapper flowing, her laughter ringing like a bell. The boy's heart stumbled. He was young, but in her presence he felt older, stronger, seen. She noticed him too. Her eyes lingered on him, soft but sharp, and her lips curved into a knowing smile. That was how it began. Zahara found ways to be near him. At first, simple conversations by the riverside. She teased him about his serious face, laughed at his silence, and praised his strength. Soon, they met in secret corners of the palace gardens, away from the eyes of Amina. She touched his arm when she spoke, leaned close when she whispered. The boy felt his chest tighten, his blood quicken. To him, Zahara was not just a girl. She was an escape, a breath of wild freedom he never felt under his mother's watchful gaze. But Zahara's tongue was not made only for sweet words. It carried poison wrapped in honey. One night, under the pale light of the moon, Zahara leaned close, her lips brushing his ear. "Do you know the truth about your mother?" The boy frowned, confused. What truth? Zahara sighed, her eyes heavy with false sadness. "Your mother, Amina, she is not the pure woman everyone thinks. She kept you away from your father when you were small. Ask yourself, why did she hold you back? Why did she hide you from him?" A true mother would never keep a son from his father's arms. The boy's chest tightened. He shook his head. No, my mother sacrificed everything for me. She loves me. Zahara's smile was soft, almost pitying. My dear, love can hide lies. Your mother feared that if you grew close to Oba, you would outshine her in his heart. She wanted Oba all to herself. She did not want you to have his love. Her words cut deep. The boy's fists clenched. His heart wanted to deny, but his mind, already poisoned by past whispers, started to bend. Days passed, and Zahara's words gnawed at his thoughts. He remembered every moment his mother had pulled him close, every time she had wept silently, every time she had delayed his time with Oba. Were those sacrifices, or were they control? The line blurred. Zahara saw his doubt and pressed harder. Do not be blind, my love, she said one evening, her hand caressing his cheek. Your mother stole years from you. She robbed you of a father's embrace. She is not the saint you imagine. She is the reason you carry emptiness in your chest. The boy's breath quickened. His eyes burned. He looked away, but Zahara guided his face back toward hers. Her eyes glimmered, half love, half shadow. One day, you will have to choose between a mother who lied to you and the truth your heart deserves. Meanwhile, Amina noticed the change. Her son's eyes, once bright with love, now flickered with distance. When she called, he turned away. When she touched his shoulder, he pulled back. At night, she prayed under the baobab tree. O ancestors, protect my son. The winds of hate are blowing. Keep his heart from turning to stone. But the winds only grew stronger. Thus, Zahara became more than just a girl. She became a weapon, sharp, beautiful, and deadly. And the boy, blinded by her beauty and poisoned by her words, carried that weapon inside his heart. The seed had been planted. Soon it would bloom into fire. The rains came late that year. The air in Lagos was heavy, the sky often gray, the earth thirsty. But inside Oba's household, a different kind of drought had begun. The drought of love between a mother and her only son. Amina watched him from afar. The boy who once ran into her arms after training with his father now walked past her as if she were a stranger. His laughter no longer filled the courtyard when she told him stories. His eyes no longer sparkled when she cooked his favorite yam porridge. Each day, the distance grew like a wall of stone rising between them. It started with small things. When she called him, "My son, come eat," he would reply without looking, "I am not hungry." When she touched his shoulder to bless him before bed, he shifted away, muttering, "I am tired." At first, Amina told herself it was simply the storm of youth. Boys grow restless. Boys test boundaries. But in her heart, she felt a shadow darker than youth. The truth was that Zahara had wrapped her hands more tightly around him. She filled his ears with stories. Your mother fears you. That is why she acts soft. She hides secrets about your father's enemies. She lives in the palace only for her pride, not for you. The boy drank her words like palm wine, sweet at first, bitter after. He began to see his mother not as the woman who raised him, but as a jailer who chained him away from truth. Zahara gave him something Amina could not: freedom, adventure, the thrill of forbidden passion. She smiled when he frowned, praised him when he felt ignored, and whispered that he was destined for greatness, far above his mother's reach. One evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, Amina called him into her chamber. He entered, but stood by the door, arms crossed. "My son," she began softly, "your eyes no longer shine when you see me. Your heart is troubled. Tell me, what shadow follows you?" His jaw tightened. His voice was sharp. "You ask me, mother? Perhaps the shadow is you." Her heart jolted. "What do you mean? You never told me why I grew far from father. You never told me the truth of our family. All my life you made me believe you sacrificed for me." But was it sacrifice, or was it control? Tears pricked Amina's eyes. She reached toward him. "My child, I gave you everything. I kept you safe from enemies who hunted you from birth. You do not know how many nights I prayed, how many nights I wept." But he stepped back, shaking his head. "No. You hid me from him because you wanted him for yourself. That is the truth I see now." Her hand fell to her side, heavy with pain. "Who told you such lies?" But he refused to answer. He turned his face away, the silence sharper than any blade. That night, Amina sat by the baobab tree alone. The stars looked down coldly as she whispered her sorrow into the night air. "Ancestors, hear me. My son's heart has been stolen by whispers. I fear the enemy lives not outside, but within. What can a mother do when her child turns his face away? Must I lose him to the poison of lies?" Her tears fell onto the dry earth, soaking into the roots of the tree. Meanwhile, in the village square, the boy sat with Zahara. She leaned close, her hand brushing his arm. "Did she deny it?" Zahara asked softly. He nodded, anger burning in his chest. "Yes. She denied everything. She says she sacrificed. But her eyes hide secrets." Zahara smiled faintly, her voice like silk wrapping around his ears. "My love, denial is the language of guilt. Do not be fooled. One day you will see the truth clearly. And when that day comes, you must act." His fists clenched. He looked at the night sky, stars glowing above like watching eyes. "I will not live in lies. I will uncover the truth, even if it breaks me." And so the distance between mother and son became a chasm. Amina prayed. The boy doubted. Zahara whispered. The poison grew. The storm was coming, and its first thunder had already been heard. The night was restless. The wind tore through the compound like an angry spirit, rattling doors, shaking palm branches, carrying dust and dry leaves across the courtyard. Clouds gathered, black and swollen, threatening to burst. Amina could not sleep. She sat awake, listening to the sound of her heart, heavier than the storm outside. Something told her this night would not end in peace. Past midnight, the gate creaked open. Her son entered, his steps unsteady, his face shadowed by the dim glow of a lantern. A weapon, an old pistol, hung at his side. Amina's heart froze. "My son," she whispered, rushing toward him. "Where have you been at this hour?" But his eyes were cold, unrecognizing. "With Zahara," he said flatly. "The only one who tells me the truth." Her breath caught. "You speak her name as if she were your mother. But what truth has she fed you, my child?" He pulled the pistol from his belt and raised it. "That you are not the saint you pretend to be." The storm cracked with thunder. A flash of lightning lit his face, eyes burning, jaw set with fury. "You hid me from father. You stole my years. You locked me inside your world of prayers and shadows. You made me believe enemies chased me, but maybe the enemy was always you. Amina trembled, her tears flowing freely. No, I shielded you because love demanded it. Your father's enemies were real. They wanted you dead before your first breath. Lies, he shouted, voice breaking. His hand shook on the trigger. Every word from your mouth is poison. Her chest ached with grief. My son, I carried you in my womb. I bled to give you life. If my words are poison, then what is left for me to give? But his anger had drowned his reason. The storm outside grew wilder. Rain began to lash against the earth. He stepped closer, gun trembling in his hand. You loved yourself more than me. You kept me from truth because you feared I would see who you truly are. Amina fell to her knees, lifting her hands toward him. Then shoot me, my son. If my love is your prison, break the chains with my blood. But know this, once a bullet leaves your hand, you can never take it back. Her voice cracked with pain, but her eyes held only love. The boy's chest heaved. He was torn between the whispers of Zahara and the memory of 1,000 gentle moments, his mother singing him to sleep, pressing her lips to his forehead, praying over his dreams. But the poison was too strong. Enough! His finger squeezed. The pistol exploded with fire and sound. Amina's body jolted. The bullet struck her chest. She staggered back, clutching her heart, and fell into the wet earth of the garden. Her son dropped the weapon, his face twisting in horror. Mother! He ran to her side, lifting her in his arms as rain poured down, washing her blood into the soil. Her lips trembled, her eyes half closed. My son, she whispered weakly. No matter what you believe, I have always loved you, always. And with those words, her body went still. The boy screamed, a cry that tore through the storm and shook the night. He pressed his face into her lifeless chest, begging the sky to undo what had been done. No. Mother, forgive me. I did not know. I did not understand. He pounded the ground with his fists, his cries echoing against the thunder. The weapon lay forgotten in the mud, a symbol of his betrayal. He lifted his face to the heavens, rain blinding his eyes. God, ancestors, why did I believe the lies? Why did I raise my hand against the one who gave me life? But the heavens gave no answer, only the endless roar of the storm. And in that moment, he understood the truth too late. Hatred destroys faster than love can heal. The morning after the storm, the village gathered in silence. The heavy clouds still hung in the sky, and the air smelled of wet earth. Drummers played a slow rhythm. 3 beats, then silence. Mourning drums that echoed across the land. Women wailed, their cries rising and falling like waves. Men stood with heads bowed, their staffs planted firmly in the mud. In the center of it all lay Amina, wrapped in a white cloth, her face serene despite the wound that had stolen her breath. She looked as though she were only sleeping, resting from years of sacrifice. The people carried her to the great baobab tree at the edge of the village. It was here that ancestors were laid to rest, their spirits believed to guard the living. The grave was dug deep, the earth red and damp. When the body was lowered, a loud cry escaped the boy's throat. He fell to his knees, clutching at the edge of the grave. No, not here, not like this. She cannot be gone. His sobs shook his body. He struck his chest with his fists. Mother, I was blind. I believed the venom of snakes instead of the truth in your eyes. I cursed the one who gave me breath. I spilled the blood that gave me life. Rain began to fall again, light at first, then heavy. The villagers murmured among themselves, their faces twisted in grief and shock. Some women shook their heads. Evil spirits must have clouded his heart. Others whispered, "No, this is the curse of lies." The boy pressed his forehead against the fresh soil, crying so loudly that even the drums could not drown his voice. "Forgive me, mother. If my tears could bring you back, the river would flood this land. If my blood could restore yours, I would cut my chest open here and now." His body shook with uncontrollable grief. Behind him, Oba stood like a mountain carved from sorrow. His face was strong, but his eyes were wet with tears he refused to release. Finally, he stepped forward and placed a heavy hand on his son's shoulder. "My son," Oba said in a deep voice, "the grave before you is not only your mother's. It is also your own heart that you buried tonight." The boy lifted his tear-streaked face. "I killed her, father. I killed the only woman who ever loved me." Oba's voice cracked for the first time. "No, you did not kill her. The enemies killed you first, long before this night. They poisoned your mind, and you let them." His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. "And I will find who planted this venom in your soul." Not far from the grave, Zahara stood among the crowd, her veil drawn low to hide her face. Her lips curved in the faintest smile, but her eyes flickered with unease. She had succeeded in breaking Amina's bond with her son, but the boy's raw grief now stirred something inside her, a shadow of regret, or perhaps fear of what Oba might do when he discovered the truth. The villagers noticed her watching too closely. Some exchanged suspicious glances. Whispers began to rise. Why does she linger like a vulture? She was always near the boy, too near. Zahara turned away quickly, vanishing into the mist of rain before their eyes could pierce deeper. As the last shovelfuls of earth covered Amina's body, the narrator's voice rose above the sound of the storm. "A grave is not only a bed for the dead, it is a mirror for the living. In the soil, we bury not just bodies, but also truth ignored, love unvalued, and trust broken." The camera lingers on the boy, still weeping in the mud, clinging to the ground as if trying to hold his mother back from leaving forever. He cries once more, a sound that echoes into eternity. "Mother, do not leave me in this darkness. Forgive your foolish son." The days after Amina's burial were heavy with silence. The drums stopped. The markets were quiet. Even the children, who usually ran through the streets laughing, now played with lowered voices. But while the village grieved, whispers grew sharper. It was Zahara who fed the boy poison. She turned his heart against his mother. Oba must know. Oba must act. The young men at the market muttered, "If Oba does not stop her, she will spread her venom to others." The women at the well said, "A snake hides in tall grass, but even snakes leave a trail." Inside the palace, Oba sat alone in the throne room. The fire before him burned low, its embers glowing red like his own heart. He replayed his son's words over and over. "You betrayed me. You betrayed father." Oba clenched his fists. Those were not his words. They were planted. His mind turned to Zahara. Beautiful, mysterious, too quick to win his son's trust, always speaking sweetly but standing in shadows. Oba's chest tightened. Could she be the viper? Meanwhile, his son wandered the corridors of the palace like a ghost. He ate little, he slept less. Night after night, he woke screaming his mother's name. In the courtyard, he knelt beneath the stars, whispering, "Mother, forgive me. I killed you with my own hands. I destroyed my blood. I destroyed myself." Zahara often came to him then, her voice soft, her veil glistening under the moon. "Do not blame yourself," she whispered. "It was Amina who kept secrets. She caused your pain. She deserved it." But instead of calming him, her words cut him deeper. "No," he snapped one night, his eyes blazing. "Do not speak her name with scorn. She was my mother." For the first time, Zahara's mask cracked. She stepped back, her eyes flashing with something dark. One evening, Oba called Zahara into the hall. The torches burned high, casting long shadows across the stone walls. Zahara entered gracefully, her bracelets jingling, her eyes calm. "You sent for me, my king?" Oba studied her for a long moment, then his voice rumbled like thunder. "Tell me, Zahara, what words did you pour into my son's ears? What poison did you plant in his heart against his own mother?" Zahara's smile did not falter. "My king, I only comforted him. It was his own anger that blinded him." But Oba slammed his staff on the ground, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Do not play with me. My son's hands are stained with his mother's blood, but his soul was poisoned by someone else, and I believe that someone is you." Zahara's eyes narrowed. "You accuse me, Oba. You think me a snake? Perhaps it is easier to blame me than to face the truth that your family was already broken." Her words struck deep, but Oba did not waver. "I will uncover your secret, Zahara. And when I do, no shadow will protect you." Tea hardened with rage. She threw a stone into the water and hissed, "Fools. They think they can see through me, but they do not know I was chosen for this. I will not fail." Her reflection in the river rippled and distorted, as if another face, darker, crueler, was staring back. Weeks later, the village gathered for the Festival of Drums, a time when ancestors were honored with music, fire, and dance. Torches lit the night. Drums thundered like beating hearts. Women in bright wrappers moved in circles, men stamped their feet in rhythm. But for Oba, there was no joy. His eyes searched the crowd, always returning to his son, who stood apart, head bowed, shoulders heavy. Zahara hovered close to him, whispering in his ear even during the songs of the ancestors. Oba's suspicion deepened. At the edge of the festival sat an old seer, blind in both eyes but sharp in spirit. His name was Baba Oloye. He motioned for Oba to come. "Your son's shadow grows darker," the seer rasped, "and behind that shadow is a hand guiding him. Beware the girl with the serpent's tongue." Oba's heart clenched. "You speak of Zahara." The seer nodded. "Her beauty is a mask. Her bloodline is cursed. She is tied to Beligan's remnants. The boy's downfall is her mission." Oba froze. The pieces began to fit. Zahara's sudden arrival, her constant whispers, the way his son turned against Amina. The truth was clear. What Oba did not know was that his son had followed him, hearing every word. When he heard Zahara's name, his chest tightened. "No," he muttered, shaking his head. "It cannot be. She is the only one who stayed with me when I hated everyone else." Tears burned his eyes. His mind raced. Did Zahara really use me? Did she make me kill my mother? Later that night, beneath the sacred baobab tree where Amina was buried, Zahara found the boy. He sat by the grave, trembling. "Tell me, Zahara, tell me the whispers are lies. Tell me you didn't make me hate her." Zahara's face was calm, almost kind, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of coldness. "You wanted the truth, didn't you?" "Yes. I guided you. I opened your eyes. Your mother was weak. She caged you with love. I gave you fire." The boy's breath caught. His heart pounded. You used me." Zahara stepped closer, her voice sharp as a blade. "I shaped you. Without me, you would still be a child clinging to her skirts. I made you a man of power." But the boy's tears fell fast. He pressed his forehead to his mother's grave. "No, you made me a murderer. You stole my soul." From the darkness, Oba stepped forward, his staff in hand. His voice thundered across the night. "Enough!" Zahara turned, startled. The firelight caught her face, exposing every cruel line beneath her beauty. Oba roared. "You hid like a serpent, twisting my son's heart, turning him against his own blood. You thought your mask would never fall. But tonight, the ancestors themselves tear it away." For a moment, Zahara laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "You think you've won, Oba. You think removing me will heal him. No, the seed of hatred is already inside. It will grow long after I am gone." Oba raised his staff, his eyes blazing. "Seeds can be burned. Lies can be washed away. But a mother's love never dies. It will live in him, no matter how deep you buried it." Zahara's smile faded. For the first time, fear flickered across her face. As the torches burned brighter and Zahara's mask shattered, the narrator's voice filled the air. "The truth may hide in shadows, but shadows cannot live forever. When the sun rises, even the longest night must end. So too do the masks of liars fall before the fire of justice." Zahara's last words still rang in the air as she disappeared into the shadows of the forest, her laughter fading like a ghost. But Oba did not chase her. His focus was only on his son, who sat trembling at Amina's grave. The boy's voice broke in sobs. "Father, it's true. I killed her. My hands are cursed. I listened to lies. I chose hate. I destroyed everything." His body shook. His hands clawed at the soil, as if he wanted the ground to swallow him. "I do not deserve to live. I do not deserve her forgiveness." Oba knelt beside him, his own face wet with silent tears. For years he had carried kingdoms on his shoulders, but this pain crushed him more than any battle. He gripped his son's arms, his voice trembling with fury and love. "You are my blood, my heir. You were blinded, yes. You were misled, yes. But hear me now. This curse is not your end unless you choose it to be." The boy shook his head violently. "No." I heard her last words. She said she loved me. Even as I, his sobs choked him. She loved me while I killed her. How can I ever wash that blood away? The wind rose suddenly through the baobab branches, carrying the sound of rattling leaves. The villagers watching whispered, some falling to their knees. "It is Amina," one of the women murmured. "Her spirit still walks with us." The boy pressed his forehead to the earth. His cries turned into a desperate prayer. "Mother, if you can hear me, forgive me. Please forgive your foolish son." The night grew still. The moon slipped from behind the clouds, bathing the grave in silver light. For a heartbeat, it felt as though Amina herself stood there, her presence warm and forgiving. The boy lifted his head, eyes swollen, voice hoarse. "I will never follow lies again. I will live to honor you, Mama. Every day, every breath will be yours. I swear it before this tree, before the ancestors, before the heavens themselves." Oba placed his hand firmly on his son's shoulder. "Then rise, my son. Redemption is not in forgetting your sins. Redemption is in carrying them and choosing every day to walk in truth instead of lies." The boy slowly stood, his legs shaking, but for the first time since Amina's death, there was strength in his posture. The villagers who had gathered beat their chests and cried out, "Oba's son has returned." The curse is broken. Drums began to play softly, not in celebration, but in solemn honor. The rhythm echoed the heartbeat of forgiveness. An elder stepped forward and said, "The child who strayed has found his way. This is the lesson for us all. When hate blinds, truth must open the eyes. When lies divide, love must heal." The scene lingers on the boy, kneeling one last time at the grave, whispering, "I was blind, but now I see. Mama, I will live to make you proud." Oba raises his staff high as the people chant, the drums growing louder. The narrator's voice rises above the drums. The greatest battles are not fought with swords or guns. They are fought in the heart. A mother's love can never be erased, even by betrayal, even by blood. The boy who lost his way found truth again, not through hate, but through the unending spirit of love. The camera pulls away from the baobab tree, its roots strong and deep, its branches reaching toward the stars. The night of tears gave way to dawn. Golden sunlight broke through the clouds, touching the village like a blessing. The baobab tree stood tall, its leaves glowing with morning fire, its roots deep in the earth like the memory of Amina. Oba and his son walked together through the village square. People gathered silently, watching the boy whose hands had spilled his mother's blood, but who now carried the weight of truth on his shoulders. Oba lifted his staff, his voice strong, though grief still clung to him. "My people, hear me. We have seen pain. We have seen betrayal. We have seen a mother fall by the hand of her own son. But we have also seen something greater. We have seen truth rise from ashes, and we have seen a boy choose redemption." He turned to his son. "Do you accept the burden of your sins, not as chains to break you, but as lessons to guide you?" The boy bowed deeply, his tears glistening. "Yes, Father, I will carry them as my scar and as my reminder. Never again will I choose hate. Never again will I be blind to love." But slowly voices rose. "He has confessed. He has repented. He has chosen truth." And soon the chant grew louder. Truth. Love. Truth. Love. From the edge of the forest, Zahara's eyes burned with rage. She had wanted the boy broken forever, the kingdom in ruin. But instead, she saw unity where she had sown division. Her whisper carried on the wind. "This is not the end. Darkness always waits." And with that, she vanished into the wilderness, leaving a shadow for the future. At Amina's grave, Oba, his son, and the villagers gathered one last time. The boy laid fresh flowers, his hands trembling but steady. "Mother," he whispered, "I cannot undo what I have done. But I will live every day to honor you. You gave me love, even as I destroyed you. That love will be my guide. The camera lingers on the boy's face, no longer a child, but not yet a man marked forever by grief and love. In every village, in every family, lies the battle between truth and lies, love and hate. Sometimes the deepest wounds are struck not by enemies, but by those we call our own. Yet even in betrayal, love remains. And love, stronger than death, can guide the lost back home. A mother's love never dies. Every story carries a lesson. If you want more tales like this to reach your heart, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, and keep the fire of storytelling alive until we meet again in the next tale.